Guess I could turn this AC off for a while. I think it's like 80 out or whatever. I start boiling up. I ain't gonna turn into an oven again. I'm about to turn this back on. If I start, you know what I'm saying? If I start feeling like a wild turkey, I'm turning this back on. So I'm reflecting on, you know, when I go to the barbershop to me is almost like, I've never been a therapy person, but it's like a therapy thing. Barbershops, barber people are almost like therapists. IT people, I wouldn't say they're therapists because a lot of them ain't very good people, very good people. I'm saying, but I use the term when people say, well, what do you do? I'm part IT, part psychiatrist. Yeah, I got to be like Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter was a serial. Now I'm not a serial, but I'm saying he was a serial, but he was smart. He was like Hannibal was a psychiatrist or like like he was Hannibal was brilliant. They don't really give Anthony Hopkins the credit he deserves. He don't really get the credit he deserves far as that role. Silence of the Lambs and all of that, man. But anyway, that's another little thing. I'm a big movie fan, big movie critic on how, just how film works and the cinematography and the writing and the storyline and then the Easter eggs. But the barbershop to me has always been, because the barbers are like, they're almost like bodyguards to, to like celebrities or like people that and it's starting to get hot already. I might need another Benadryl, man, but I ain't driving around like that. Got a low tolerance. So, people talk to their barbers about a lot of different things. Barbers probably got some secrets. They probably got some blueprints of some buildings, and they probably got they know where the bodies are dug up at or buried. You know what I'm saying? Like, people share a lot with their barbers. And, the thing about that is people talk about all kinds of different things. I never really been into sports much. Now I'm starting to find some of it intriguing far as just the analytical side of it. The discussion that we had, oh hell no. I'm starting to get hot. I feel it. I just felt one little bit of sweat. No, we ain't doing that. Barbecue Pearson, that's not gonna happen. No. Let me see, is this thing gonna cut on now? For me. Okay, yeah. Sometimes I play back my little audio to make sure it sounds good and stuff like that. No. Not happening. No. I'm just gonna be sneezing if I get cold or whatever. Because you see how my nose is stuffed up. So the barbershop is still one of the last places. I don't trust the American school system, and I don't give a damn if it's a HBCU or not. They're really not prepping our folks to be on code, and they're not sending out our brightest and best. They're sending out a lot of them places, man. They get sending out folks that can either shuck or jive, or as long as they got a title. But anyway, I'm not an educator, so. But the barbershop is it's a place where you could still see all walks of life, all kind of walks of life, from doctors to lawyers to surgeons to pretty much everything. Kids, it's supposed to be an inviting environment. It is. The barbershop I've been going to, I've known the family since I was pretty much knee high to a grasshopper. So, it's important for me, as more often as I ought to go, like, it's a good place to kind of break away. Right? So the discussion was sports. So I'm sitting there. One thing I learned, I'm a surveyor of people. I get into question mode. I'm asking, what is this thing about the Dallas and all this kind of stuff, like, and I'm asking, well, y'all have met these folks behind the scenes. Is it just like corporate or whatever? They cut me off real quick, like, man, it's plantation. Get up on that field, Negro, and play. And shut up and dribble. And that's what was being told to me. That's how it is. That's the attitude. Get up on that auction block and play. I'm talking about behind. I ain't talking about what me and you see on the TV. I'm saying these are the folks. I said how them coaches and how them players and how what is it really like behind the scene? Man, get up on that plantation, Negro, and play and shut up and dribble. And take your white woman and take your Rolls Royce and shut your damn mouth and play. I'm like, oh, so it ain't really no different. It's like any other thing. It's no different. Which I figured that's what it was. And I was talking about, I said there was a book called $40 Million Slaves and all that. So you get a richer slave, I guess, So that's the idea, Not to say, I'm not trying to demean these brothers. I'm just saying I was never interested. I'm like, hey, I've never watched an entire game since 92 Bulls with Michael Jordan. When I had the retros or something like that. Like that was the last full game I watched. I'm a fool from start to finish. I used to love watching Jay. So we just talking about that. I'm finding some of the stuff to be interesting now with sports and stuff. I'm asking about Coach Prime and some of this UFC stuff and this Rampage Jackson stuff and all this. It's just the world of sports is starting to be kind of interesting to me from an analytical standpoint. Because I didn't understand none of the wrestling stuff or none of that, like how it really works. So it's interesting. So I'm covering some of this stuff. So one of the things that was in the barbershop, there was a woman at a barbershop. I might have been maybe a year back or 2 years back or something like that. And I think they were talking about, people in the barbershop were talking about marriage and relationships and things of that nature. And a question was asked me by one of the hairdressers. She said, what's your advice on marriage? And I'm gonna be honest. I personally don't think I'm the greatest person to give advice on that, because it's not, you just being married don't necessarily mean that you qualify to answer that in the correct way, because I might give out some wrong information. So now, if a young man asked me that question, some people would say, well, you wrong for saying this. You better save 100. Because here's the thing, the American system is set up to where if things don't work out, you lose, bro. But if you believe spiritually in the marriage system, you're not thinking about the dollar, you're thinking about union. But America, it's a business. So now, it all depends on what spectrum you look at it. Are you doing it because you just want a big wedding and you want to show off? Or are you doing it because, also to show your kids that you ain't raising no bastards? Because really, what you saying to your kids is, she wasn't worth it. If you don't do that, right? But technically, by definition, you're saying she wasn't worth it. But now, think back on the plantation or before the plantation. As far as black folks I'm talking about. We might have just jumped the room and we just skipped and do the ritual or whatever, and then we ain't no paper sign. So this American system is now a business. It's literally a business. Literally. And the question is, are you in business or are you out of business? Because you could get took based on the American system of business of what you sign. You signed something. This is a legible document. You can get took. The court can tell you what you can and can't get. That's one aspect that you work hard for, right? Okay. But now, here's some tried and true battle-tested advice. This advice has been on the battlefield for centuries. So I paused for a minute. And she was kind of looking like, oh, he's thinking about how he's going to answer this. I was. I said, I'll tell you the first thing. Don't tell nobody your damn business. That is a battle tested. That's been out there with Jon Snow, Mad Mardigan from Willow. That's been out there with Action Jackson. That's been out there with Russell Crowe from Gladiator. That's been out there with, Sparta, you disrespect my queen. That we kicked that lore in that hole. That's been a battle-tested statement that I just made. It's been tried and true. There's no debate whatsoever about that statement. If it goes left, right? So, if you're having a discussion, if something happens in your house and you have a problem with your significant other, and you go to somebody else and you say something that's out of pocket that you probably wouldn't say to them, and even if it doesn't get back to them, bro, sending me some good articles. Even if it doesn't get back to them, this party that you told this information to is going to start disliking them. And so now when they come around, they take your side, especially if they did something bogus to you. So now you can't turn that on and off. Oh, I'm cool now with them. So now you need to be back on her side or whatever, or his side or whatever. It don't work like that. Because this person had already wronged you. And you could have been capping. You might have not told them the whole story. And then the person might come back to you and they might find out more information. And they might say, well, DP, what did you do, Negro? Oh, well, man, I put some extra strawberry toast on the. Okay, well, yeah, you didn't tell me that, bro. You missed out a key factor to mitigate my decision about this person or what they did or what I should tell you. So that's one piece. The other thing is, I said, unless this dude is doing something like touching your kids or something like that, I said, don't tell nobody anything. I said, because I don't care if the nigga knocks you upside the head with a crowbar. If you go back to him and you still talking about him, it ain't gonna matter. Because you went back to him and you accepted it. So it's best that you don't say nothing and y'all try to resolve that then and there. The next thing I told her, I said, you got to be willing to you got to be willing to do what that man tells you to do and submit to what that man says. And she was looking like, I said, is he worth submitting to? Has he proven leadership skills that's worth submitting to? I can't answer that question. That's a question that folks don't like to ask. That's a question that folks don't like to answer. Is he worth submitting to? Now, you done laid in bed with the nigga already, so yeah, you done already submitted, so to a certain degree. So, you've been on your back and you've been on your knees. So, I'm just saying, you done already did that. So, if you already done did that, well, so, because let's go back to point number one. If life is based on relationships, you might change your view on what the person said. And once you say certain things, you can't really take it back. Depending on what you said, you can't say certain things. So if it's something you say, yeah, you might probably have to mutter something under your breath or say something where ain't nobody around. But if you say something to another party that is demeaning or diminishing to that person, and you did not say that in front of the person, then it just makes things sticky. And that goes into the relationship conversation I'm talking about, where when people say things, and people do it all the time. I'm quite sure I've done it before. But now, when you say things like, I had a situation between two homies, right? I had a situation between two homies. I was very close to these guys. They have issues with each other. But we're all friends. One does the other bogus. So I gotta side with what's righteous. But the thing is y'all gonna have to go to the back and straighten that out. Because what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna go back and forth between what somebody said and what somebody else said. Now, I told one friend, hey, whatever you did, you need to resolve that shit a call. Well, man, I ain't gonna do all that. Okay, well, nigga, ain't nothing I'm gonna do. The other party might say, well, hey, man, bro did something bogus or whatever like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, man, but you know, if you ain't gonna rock with him, you ain't gonna rock with him. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm not gonna do is, cause see, that happened to me. Me and one of my homies got into it one time, and we got into a fight. And the homie that I'm talking about, he didn't like it because he felt like it was other mitigating factors with people talking. Now we were kids then. We were young, you know what I'm saying? We was very, very young. But the point I'm trying to make as an example, we had a disagreement that was never spoken about. Now, your brain's not fully developed, so I just cast that away. That's not even that's not even something that would bear any. That's just an old memory. It's funny now. It's a good story. You know what I'm saying, that we can laugh at. But the thing is, I had a friend that basically said, hey man, I don't like that shit, bro. Because he felt it was a bunch of clout going on and folks was just enjoying it just for the simple fact that they want to see two warriors fight. And he told me, I don't like that shit. He basically just flat out said, man, I don't like it. And he was friends with both of us too. You see what I'm saying? But he didn't like it one bit. He didn't like hearing about the fight. He didn't hear about who this person. He did not like the shit from the jump. So you really couldn't come around him talking about, well, yeah, man, DP did this and so did that. And y'all did this, that, and the third. And oh, they rumbled over here. And then they went to this neighborhood and rumbled again or whatever. He would not hear it. Folks come up to him talking about what happened. He's like, bro, I ain't trying to hear none of that shit. So basically, he was on the side of righteousness saying, all right, what the way that it got to this point wasn't worth for it to get to this point. But it had to happen for us to have that mutual respect, especially on my behalf. I had to show my hand so that the law has to be laid down. But it was laid down in a way from something that wasn't even created by either of us, really. It was all misconstrued. But that's the point. Nobody sat down to have a conversation. You see what I'm saying? And that's mitigating. That's mitigating. And that's when you see a lot of this garbage on the internet where folks is now recording it. We couldn't record all the stuff that was going on back then. There's some things that I done seen, things I've heard, things that I haven't even been around, but things I done heard third party that you could never record on this damn internet. Open the Frigidaire 25 to life in there when I made that statement about, you know, when I passed through that highway and I was like, man, that reminds me of this situation, you know. You think that man would have let me pull out a damn camera? Man, we over here trapping. We doing this here. Folks are actually doing that to a heavy degree, just self-indicting themselves. And it's attention starvation at an insane level. Because people, they don't love each other. They definitely don't love the other parties, but they dislove each other so much. They dislove themselves so much that they're willing to put their own selves on the chopping block. Nobody put them on the chopping block. Well, man, you the police. You Vlad TV. You said it. You went on the internet and you told everybody what you did. I'm not talking about telling somebody what you thought about doing, what you consider doing. You told people what you did and you said it in front of the world. And you blame Vlad TV. He's the police. He's the news. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's interviewing you goofy Negroes. You see what I'm saying? But we couldn't do that when in the era that we came up with. And it wasn't that long ago. It was 5 minutes ago. So what I'm trying to say is that all of that is caused by bad relationships. Somebody did something to somebody or said something and nobody intervened and said, hey man, what's going on? It's a lot easier just to say, man, let's just call some cap, because they don't have enough action and drama in their life to say, well, wait a minute, man, you know, is it worth y'all doing that? But now we're in the clicks and views. They're like, well, hey, let me just go and you know, I'll cover stuff that I see. I'm going to do that. It's on, they put it online. But now, if you're going to go out of your way to go do something and record it, like I see folks in jail, I seen another video where they were making these young brothers do push-ups and smacking their head with the burner. I mean, you know, I had to think, how did they get to that point? Somebody got into some nonsense from the jump. That's probably how it happened. But, you know, I'm just getting into, you know, and that's why I said, if that dude knock you upside your head because you done said something crazy to him, don't go keep telling your mama about what happened if you gonna stay. You gonna have to resolve that issue on your very own. You're gonna have to resolve that issue on your very own. Because y'all are gonna continue to have problems. You're gonna have arguments, fights, you're gonna shout at each other. You know, hopefully nobody gets physical, because once it gets physical, it's over. You've lost respect to that person where you felt like you was get physical. Oh, well, he cheated, so I sprayed him with mace. Okay, well, yeah, it's over. You have no more respect for that person because you've got to the point where you're comfortable to get violent. And like I say, there's certain things you just can't take back. He's always going to remember that you sprayed him with the mace because he cheated on you or whatever the case may be. She's always going to remember that you did the Ike Turner, Color Purple. I fixed that mailbox so I could see if you've been looking at it. Yeah. If you Danny Glover her Negro, yeah, she's never going to forget that. She's never going to forget that. You know, and even threatening to do to somebody, because now they got it on your mind like, yeah, this nigga about to knock me upside the head. Even if she knows she deserves it. She could have did some shit some unforgivable stuff where she felt like, yeah, I'd be surprised if I was him, I'd knock me upside the head. I'm not promoting domestic violence. I'm just saying that people will do stuff to you knowing that they deserve something back. Still, that don't matter. They're still going to feel like you were open to harming me physically. Because psychological abuse sometimes could even be worse than physical abuse. Some people can take physical abuse. Some people can't. That's why we have we have an entire system that was really built around blacks in penitentiary. Penage and all that kind of stuff. But we have an entire system that's built around getting people inside of these corridors because they're not able to take physical, you know, they're not gonna. So you're looking at a lot of people that a lot of times when you hear these going to jail, they, you know, like the videos and and it's all, you know what I'm saying. It's the street stuff. It's mostly weapons involved. 98% of the time it's a firearm involved. Well, they're not willing to get physical, but they're going into a place where they're going to always have to be physical. You're going to have to be good with your hands. You have to be, but they're not really mentally prepared to really go to a place like that. Nobody probably is, but you're in a place where that's all there is violent people and physical people. And there's no mercy. No one's going to have any mercy. None. But that's where you're going to go. And they knocking the doors down a lot of times to get there. Because psychologically, they don't think they could get physical. They could get physical out in the world with weapons and ARs and Drakes and all that kind of stuff. They could do that. But in there, they're not mentally, you're never going to be prepared to go into a place that you're naturally not supposed to be. Well, how'd you get there? Relationships. I kind of went off on a tangent, but I'm just saying, like, the relationship between people is the basis for all communication and success. So, you know, the third question was something around, I can't remember what it was, but you know, my whole thing is, you know, make the, you know, if y'all gonna get married and y'all gonna have a wedding, make it about y'all. Everybody else is a guest. And she was like, yeah, like she was kind of shaking her head. Like, I said, because now you done spent $50,000 on the wedding and you still ain't bought a house. You still ain't bought half an acre. because you want to convince other people. And I told her this. I said, I'm just painting a scenario. You want to spend $70,000 to promote and convince family members and friends that don't even like you. You want to show off to them that, and they don't even like you. So that's another promotional party to showcase what kind of man you got. To all these chicks that ain't got no merit, that ain't got no marriage certificate, nor are they qualified. See, amen to that. You see what I'm saying? So like, that was just I said, that's the only advice I got. I ain't got nothing for you. I have nothing else for you. That's it. I have nothing else for you. That will be all, ma'am. I have nothing else. You know, and those key things that I mentioned, those are tried, true, battle tested. World War I, World War II, ancient Rome, every single piece of political, psychological, modern, economical warfare for the past 4,000 to 5,000 years, those three pieces of statements that I made stand tried and true in the test of time. In every single household on what we call planet Earth. Western, northern hemisphere, from Antarctica to damn it, New Zealand to the celestial space jumpsuit from some slithering, gargling alien. Everywhere, the whole universe, that has happened. I guarantee it. That has either strengthened or broke the core relationship of human beings. Those three things. You know, what do y'all think? Do those three things, do they stand the test of time? Or is it just something I just made up? I'm asking y'all.